I'm Spencer Mazyck, and joining me now is lawyer turned professional balloon twister Todd Neufeld. He is the founder of the Twisted Balloon Company. Welcome, Todd. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Spencer.
So you're a balloon twister, much like the folks that we often see in at children's birthday parties, right?
Yes, at children's birthday parties, at company parties, you name it. Wherever anybody's having an affair, some kind of a party, I get called to come make balloons.
Well, so how did it all begin? How old were you when you started doing what you now call balloon performance art?
I started in high school. I used to do a lot of things in high school, could be called, I guess, under variety arts, juggling, card tricks. I rode a unicycle for a few years. I folded paper into frogs, and I learned balloon twisting. And when I got to law school at Boston University, I thought that would be a great place to be a street performer. Mm-hmm. Boston's known for busking. I went out to Faneuil Hall, Harvard Square, and couldn't believe how good the performers were. They were world class. And I started twisting balloons literally on the streets of Boston to just make some extra money, just as a side project. Especially in law school, the internships don't pay. First year internships especially, it was all unpaid.
Yeah, but were you making a ton of money because of it?
No, not
So,
a ton
so
of
why
money.
did you do it? Do you do it because of the joy that it brings to others?
Absolutely. It was not just the joy for myself personally. I just love to create and take something which is rubber, air, manipulate it, and turn it into artwork. But then you gift it to people, and it just makes their day. Whether they're 3 years old, 83 years old, you just get to share some art. And I love it.
And it really is art. I've seen life-size creations that you've done of President Obama and Howard Stern.
Yes.
And I mean, they seem really incredible, but how long does it take for you to do something like that?
Something like that generally takes a couple of hours. At an event, a balloon might take 20 seconds, it might take 8 minutes, it might take 30 minutes. Some special thing like the balloon Obama, which is about that big, is maybe about 15 minutes. Something larger like the Howard Stern, that was about 2 hours.
What's the most complex thing you've ever created with balloons?
The most complex thing would have to be a library.
Oh, wow. With books and everything.
Books and everything. It wasn't just me. My friend Larry Moss ran Balloon Manor, which was a giant 100,000 balloon castle, haunted castle. And he had designers from all over the world, and I was in charge of the library. So it took for the library, about 5 of us, 5 days to make it.
Well, so let's talk about your path to becoming a professional balloon twister, Todd, because you mentioned that you went to Boston University School of Law. What did you do immediately following graduation?
Immediately following graduation, I signed up for Barbary to take the bar exam. And then as that was starting, I had an opportunity to go to Europe.
Belgium.
To Belgium, right, where they were not just having the first European balloon, they call it balloon modeling convention. Friends of mine were also building a Guinness World Record balloon sculpture, 2 giant soccer players.
Wow.
So I thought,
Barbary.
yeah, the bar
Belgium.
exam's coming up, and I just thought I can always retake the bar exam. I just didn't have. I thought I didn't have a choice. It was a calling to me. So I took some time off. I went there, had a great time, came back, studied as hard as I could, and I did pass the bar in Massachusetts and in New York.
But you also practiced for a little while after you graduated. So
correct. I worked with some lawyers up in Boston. I was doing trademarks, copyrights. I've always been really interested in technology, especially intellectual property, and the interplay of how fast technology moves and society and laws kind of follow a little bit behind it. It was really interesting to me. And I helped a lot of small businesses with incorporation, some small real estate ventures, trademark issues, things of that nature. It was good, it was interesting, but the actual day-to-day practice, I didn't love. Yeah.
You also aspired, though, to be a patent attorney. So
Yes.
tell us, though, how do you go from wanting to be a patent attorney to becoming a full-time professional balloon twister? Tell us about the day that you ultimately made the decision to leave law behind.
The day, it wasn't as much of an aha moment as a slow build of, I would find when I had some downtime, I wasn't thinking about the law. I was thinking about how to work on a balloon sculpture, how to improve something, a new technique. And if I was going to do some casual reading, it wouldn't necessarily be about the history of law or patents. It would be about entertainment, about working a room, about performing. And eventually, everybody in my life started to say, "Why? What's going on? Like, you're kind of in 2 different worlds." And I made a commitment a couple years out. I guess it was probably 2002, 2003 to just forgo the whole thing. And as I was starting to make that decision, I realized that I was dreaming, that this was stupid. Nobody would ever leave and become an attorney to go make balloon animals, especially on the streets. So I finally sat down. I thought, Todd, you need to grow up, go back to what you wanted to do. And I studied for the patent bar. I thought I should be a patent attorney. It is what I'm interested in, especially patent litigation. I could possibly combine the performance that I like with the technology. But
you always had this calling, it seems,
always.
A calling to entertain, callings to blow up balloons and twist them and make images for people and shapes for people. But how did your family and friends respond to your new chosen career?
They thought it was a phase I was going through. In fact, some of them still do. They come up and say, "When are you going to get a real job and go work at a law firm?" And I'm like thinking, I don't know what else I could do.
However many years later, they're still asking you that.
Exactly. So it's just because most people can't relate to leaving something that seems secure and cushy for something which is completely unknown.
But what about the financial risk and considerations? Did you not think about that? On average, though, how much does a balloon twister make per event?
It completely varies. There are some people that are making $100 to $200 an event. There's some events that are paying a couple $1,000s. So it's completely up and down. There's no general salary or income that you can count on per month, which is scary and it's risky. And I thought, I can deal with it. I was young. I was in my mid to late 20s. I didn't have a family. I didn't have a mortgage. This is the time to do it. And what really interested me was exactly that challenge, to try to build a business which has really never been done before. There aren't lots of people out there twisting balloons full time for fancy events. And if I could be that guy, that would be fun and that would be a challenge.
Do you have any regrets about going to law school? If you had to do it all over again, would you do it?
Absolutely, I would do it for two reasons. First, I met my wife in law school, which changed everything. But also, everything that I learned in law school, all of the training to be an attorney, helps me on a day-by-day basis as a balloon twister. You wouldn't think it.
Yeah, tell us. Please elaborate.
Absolutely. Both on the big picture and also the small picture. Because as somebody coming into a party to make balloons, it's a very specific thing, showing up, entertain with balloons. But if I have an understanding of how I fit into the larger scheme of the event and the event industry, that's going to help me. And as an attorney, you always start looking at the system. You start with the Constitution, the judicial system, all the way down, the regulations. So whatever case you're working on, you always have an awareness of how it fits in to the larger policy. And I immediately became involved in the event industry overall, the special event industry, networking with other people in the event industry and realizing that I can play a larger role in the event. And then the day-to-day transactions, absolutely very essential, because I'm dealing with sometimes very sophisticated parties on the other side. I deal with the White House Social Office. I deal with human resource departments. I deal with event companies that book hundreds of millions of dollars worth of events. Sometimes they fly me places. Sometimes it's just in somebody's backyard. And all of the transactional things that come up with that, you can't learn in school. There's no how to be a freelance entertainer class. It just doesn't exist.
I also want to mention another way that I think your law degree has been useful is that you've created something called Manager Sal, is that right?
Exactly.
Can you tell us what that is?
Yes. Manager Sal is an online database that automates your contacts to your contracts, which is exactly where my legal training came in handy. Because as a person doing this, I needed to streamline the back end of the office. Somebody calls me, we have a contract, an agreement, they send a deposit, we come to terms. And I find that other people in my industry had the same problems, but they didn't quite have the same confidence to draw up their own contracts. And I was getting phone calls that say, hey, Todd, we need a contract. What do I use? So I wrote a book on contracts for entertainers, which sold pretty well. And then people said, well, can I just have it on disc? And I said, no, I want to teach you to think about it. So read the book and it explains how you construct it. And they just said, just give me the answer. And again, the legal training, it's not just here's the boilerplate, it's what are the issues for this case. Mm-hmm. So I built with a colleague of mine a system that hundreds of entertainers are using that they put in their event information and it takes them through the steps of the transaction, generates a contract which their clients sign. And I'm finding that it's changing people's lives in a way that I didn't expect. It's actually empowering them to run their own business.
It sounds like a great system. And I want to mention, though, that your work, too, can be seen everywhere. You've been on everywhere from the David Letterman Show, the Today Show, even Nightline. And I want to ask you, though, how were you able to land for 4 years in a row the Obama administration's 4th of July party?
Well, the reason is because before Obama came into office, I did some events under the Bush administration. So I think I've been doing events at the White House for 7 years, possibly 8 years. And it all came about because somebody who works at the White House social office heard about me, knew my reputation, called me up and said, we want you to come to this fancy event at the White House. And I completely thought it was one of my friends messing with me. And it turns out it was legit, and we've had a 7 or 8 year long relationship. It's been
That's
exciting.
great. That's been great.
Yeah.
So before we go, can you just tell us very briefly about your company, the Twisted Balloon Company?
Absolutely. So my company, the Twisted Balloon Company, it's myself and some really top-notch artists, and we go to events mostly in New York, but also all over the country, and we just do really high-end balloon art live for people. And that's what I'm about, is pushing the envelope both on the artistic side and the business side to just match good people with good balloons.
Well, I appreciate the joy that you bring to others, so thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you for having me.
For more information on this or other topics, subscribe to BloombergLaw.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for joining us. Bye, everybody.